Hi, and welcome to LRB Math Notebook's video on rearranging formulas. In math and science, a lot of times you see formulas or equations that you'll sometimes have to solve for one of the other variables within that equation. Some of the more common ones that people have seen or at least heard of would be E equals mc squared, where energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. One that y'all used last year in 7th grade math would be I equals PRT, where to find your interest, you use the principal times the rate times time. Or another one from last year would be finding the volume of a rectangular prism, where V equals L times W times H. And then finally, our most common one from this year in 8th grade math would be Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is a y-intercept. Those are just a couple of the more common ones you'll see. There are many others, especially in science. Another one that you see a lot on the EOC is converting temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius or Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we're going to take the one for converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, where we have F equals 9/5 C plus 32. And we're going to rearrange that equation, so we're going to have C equals. Just like with a regular equation, it's important to follow SADMAP, where you're doing your order of operations backwards. That means you get rid of any subtraction or addition first, then you move on to the division and multiplication, then exponents, and finally anything that happens to be in parentheses. And just like with those equations, when you're solving for just one variable, you're going to be doing the opposite to move something from one side of the equation to the other. So with our SADMAP, the subtraction and addition comes first. And that's what we need to get rid of first. In our original equation, we have a plus 32. So to move that 32 to the other side, we have to do the opposite. We're going to subtract 32 from each side. On the right side, 32 minus 32, that'll cancel out, and that's what we want. On the left side, then, we will now have f minus 32. So we'll have f minus 32 equals 9/5 c. And now we move on to the division and multiplication part of SADMAP. In this case, we have 9/5 times c on the right side. So when we do the opposite, we're dividing. So we're dividing by a fraction in order to move it from one side to the other. If you remember back to when you divide by fractions, what you end up doing is you are multiplying by the reciprocal. That means if you're dividing with a fraction, you're multiplying by the fraction flipped. So the important thing to remember is anytime you're moving a fraction from one side of an equation to the other, it is going to flip that fraction. So you see we have 9/5 c to start with. So if we multiply each side, we're going to multiply it by 5/9. That'll make it cancel out on the right side. And then on the left side, we just have that times 5/9. The other important thing to note on this step is in this case, since we already subtracted the 32 to start with, when we multiply by that 5/9, both parts on the left side have to be multiplied by that fraction. And you'll see the way to show this in math that they use a lot are making use of the parentheses. So that means when we move that 5/9 over, it would have to get distributed to both the f and the minus 32. And that's it. That's our final answer then. We have C equals 5/9 times the quantity of f minus 32. And there you have it. We went from converting an equation from Celsius to Fahrenheit to having the equation for Fahrenheit to Celsius. This is one that, like I said, is likely to show up on your EOC, so you might see this one again. Now, you try some. You are going to get 5 problems where you have to solve an equation for a different variable in that equation. You'll be given the correct answers at the end of the video. Are you ready? Go. Number 1. AX plus BY equals C. You need to solve that equation for B. Number 2. I equals PRT. Rearrange that equation to solve for R. Number 3. A equals 1/2 the height times the quantity of base 1 plus base 2. You're going to solve this equation for base 1. This is the equation for area of a trapezoid. Number 4. E equals mc squared. You need to solve for C. Number 5. Y equals mx plus b. Solve for m. Time's up. Time to check your answers to see how you did. Number 1, you should have B equals C minus AX divided by Y. Number 2, you should have R equals I divided by PT. Number 3, base 1 equals 2A divided by H minus B2. Number 4, C equals the square root of E divided by M. And number 5, M equals Y minus B divided by X. How did you do? Once everyone in your group is finished, check to see who has the most correct. The person with the most correct can get a piece of candy from the bin. Hopefully this video has been helpful in further teaching you how to rearrange formulas for the Math 1 class.